Welcome, everyone, to the Only Chip in the Cookie podcast. I'm your host, Larry from Iowa. Man, it's been a long time since we've had a chance to connect. Welcome to season 2 of the podcast. First and foremost, I got to thank everybody that's been a supporter of the podcast, a listener of the podcast over the past, when did we start this? About 8 months ago or something like that. Seriously, though, thank you for all the outreach and just the overwhelming amount of support that we've been receiving since day one. I've mentioned this before, but we've got listeners from literally all over the world, and I just never really thought that this kind of story or these kinds of stories from the middle of Iowa would, I don't know, I just never really thought that so many people would be interested in hearing these stories. Or maybe I did think that, which is why I launched the podcast. I don't know. So when I started this podcast, I had a couple things in mind. One thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to share the experience or the experiences of being Black in a predominantly white corporate America, and just sort of show what that looks like and show what I've learned from these experiences. Another hope that I had for the podcast was that allies could listen to these episodes and perhaps learn from them, maybe even see themselves in some of the characters that have been described from stories depicted upon in the podcast. Take these stories, take these experiences, take these opportunities with folks being transparent and being vulnerable, and use that to fuel your journey in allyship. Use the lessons learned from the stories that we're telling to help improve your corner of the world. Again, I'm just really thankful and I'm really humbled that people actually take the time to listen to these stories and are growing from these stories as well. So, I've thought long and hard about representation. And, with me, you only hear just one perspective, one side of the story. Now, granted, I feel like some of the experiences that I go through or have gone through, certainly they resonate with lots of folks that consider themselves to be Black or Black males for that matter. But what about the females, right? Surely if we are experiencing what we're going through as Black men in this country, certainly as history shows, our Black women also have a story to tell. With that said, I am very, very excited to introduce you guys to another partner to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, meet our newest, our brightest co-host to The Only Chip in the Cookie, SHEKINAH Young.
Hello, Only Chip in the Cookie family. I am super excited to be joining Larry in this podcast. And I think we're going to do some great stuff and just talk through some great things on a journey with being the only chip in the cookie and how to improve our spaces, improve our community to be better for some only chips out there. I am SHEKINAH. I am from Chicago. I came to Des Moines a while ago to go to school, college, and I quickly found how I could impact community here, how I can be of service to my community, and so I chose to stay. I am the only chip in the cookie in a lot of different situations. As a Black woman living in the state of Iowa, there are lots of different situations that may occur or come up on a regular basis that have left me to be the only chip in the cookie. And being the only chip in the cookie, I think, is something that transcends race, transcends gender, faith, all these different dynamics. And I look forward to walking alongside you as we discuss only chip journeys that we walk through in life and how we can be better suited for other folks, even being that assurance or support for folks that are only chips in their cookies. I think that when you talk about being the only chip in the cookie, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to me? I think from my perspective, as a Black woman living in the United States of America, that is a Christian, raised in an urban environment, moved to a majority white state, that looks like having your history erased and you having to learn about it through traditions or things that are passed down. That looks like second guessing the things that you think or that you experience, because the majority of folks may not share that opinion, or they don't share that experience or that thought. They may not even know how to be supportive in that time. I think being the only chip in the cookie looks like being your own hype man or woman person, because sometimes your thoughts, sometimes you are like a trailblazer, right? You're the first to do something, or you're presenting a different thought or opinion that may not have gathered so much support as of yet. So being the only chip in the cookie can look like that. Being the only chip looks like self-confident. That's essential. If you're not, it's going to be a rough road, right? Still I rise is the only chip in the cookie. Code switching for survival, mentally, physically, emotionally, is what it looks like to be the only chip. Seeing elements of who you are celebrated on a social level, but demeaned on a professional level. I hope that makes sense. We can go into that more as we travel through the podcast world. Lots of different elements of being the only chip. And I think as a cookie-loving, okra-eating Black woman in the state of Iowa who is a Christian, who was raised in an urban setting, and now I still live in an urban setting somewhat. It just looks a little different than where I was raised. I'm that kind of woman. Those things and those experiences have shaped who I am and how I feel and what I believe about a lot of things. And I'm super excited to bring all of me to the only chip in the cookie, and to stand alongside Larry and just walk through what that means, to be the only chip, and also ways that allies or other folks can support, or just forming a basis or understanding. I'm happy to be that support, and I'm happy to learn as well on this road with you. I am excited, and I look forward to this journey of the Only Chip in the Cookie podcast with you. I am going to learn alongside you. I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions. I want you to hit us up and let us know what you're thinking and you're feeling. This is going to be definitely a journey that I want to learn and grow with you. And so you have to join us. It's going to be super great. Me and Larry, Only Chip in the Cookie, 2021. We're doing this.
All right. And the voice that you just heard was that of the one and only Shekinah Young. And we're so happy to have Shekinah on the show as not only a co-host, but as a co-curator as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Shekinah Young. What's going on, Shekinah?
Hey, Larry, how are you?
Hey, I am doing A-okay, fantastic. It's nice to be back in the booth. Nice to be back in the lab, and putting down these podcasts. But Shekinah, I am so excited. I've shared this with you plenty of times already, but I'm just more than elated to have you as a partner to this show. Thank you so much.
I really like the Only Chip in the Cookie, and I think that the podcast is dope. It's reaching folks of all kinds of audiences, and we're really making inroads. We're really building bridges, providing education, verifying experiences for folks who are the only chip in the cookie. And sometimes it helps to be like, you know what, I'm not crazy. So how could you pass up an opportunity like that? So I think it's going to be great. I'm excited.
Oh man, thank you so much. And I appreciate that little bit of validation too, because there have been plenty of times where I've sat in that cubicle and I'm like, am I crazy? I know I'm not crazy. So yeah. Well, Well, speaking of, the only chip in the cookie, I mean, that's clearly how I came into podcasting, is just talking about my experiences of, being the only one in the meeting, or being the only one on a class assignment, or being the only one or one of few
Right.
in general. So I got to flip it over to you, Shekinah. Have you experienced being the only chip in the cookie ever?
Oh, yes. I have been the only chip in the cookie when it comes to race and ethnicity, when it may come to gender, even age, in the workplace, in public settings, like lots of different experiences. As someone who hails from the south side of Chicago, um, where I grew up and where I currently live do not reflect each other at all. And like as a student in high school and younger years, I always aspired to be like the president of the United States or a civil rights attorney, or like I always wanted to do these big things. And I knew that where I wasn't going to prepare me best to do that, that I had to get used to something different. But when I got that something different, I did not enjoy it. And so, yes, I have been the only chip in the cookie ever since I came to Iowa in lots of instances. And it's definitely been some valuable experiences, I would say.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. Well, when you think about the experiences that you've had being the only chip in the cookie, and
Hmm.
and as somebody that works in corporate America, and you're
Yes.
very active in the community, and giving back and outreach in general. Um, what are some goals, or what are some targets that you are looking to accomplish in 2021?
Absolutely. Well, first, I'm looking to drink more water because,
Word.
like, drinking water is the sustenance of who we are, right? Nourish yourself at some point in this. I am not a big fan of water, and no pun intended, I am a big fan of cookies. So I am definitely focused on drinking more water and just being more mindful of my own health, making sure I'm getting regular workouts in and prayer, meditation, that kind of thing. But also, I am like my word. I do a word every year, right? My word is releve. And releve is like a term used in ballet or dance when the dancer gets like on their tiptoes and kind of like twinkle, 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 twinkle across the floor a little bit. And I came up with that word because I said I want to speak higher. I want to do higher. I want to exist higher. So what is it can't just be higher. Like what could my word be? And so releve is it. Even when you relevate, like you prepare yourself and then you tiptoe, 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 and then you're back down. But you don't just go from first position to releve. You go from like first to second, third, then releve.
Mm.
So when I think about my goals or like what I want to accomplish as far as my involvement with the community, moving forward and progressing professionally, it all centers around releve. I want to reject imposter syndrome, know who I am and stand firm in that, know that I have great things to offer my employer, my friendships, any space that I'm at, I have something of value to give there. And don't second guess that because I may be the only chip in the cookie. That chip makes that whole cookie delicious. So, yeah, my goal for this year is to releve,
Yeah,
to do higher, be higher, speak higher, operate in that.
man, that is so awesome. And let me tell you, all right, I am the king of second guessing, and the king of,
It happens, doesn't it?
oh my gosh,
It's
that
crazy.
imposter syndrome is no joke, like for
It
real,
is.
you
It
know?
is.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, okay. Well, I'm so thankful then that you spoke about that, because I could definitely use some coaching and some encouragement. So, all right, it's awesome. We're in this together. So that's
Let's
dope.
do it. Yes.
Yes. And I learned a new word too, releve. Okay, all right.
Releve.
So hey, I know we actually do have some ballet dancers that listen to the show. So yeah,
Oh,
so they're gonna go crazy, and the Instagram is gonna blow up after they hear that word. So I'm looking forward to that.
cool. I'm sure they're familiar with it. I got the word. I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and it was a group. I don't like no low key shout outs or anything, but it was a group called Black Girls Do Ballet,
Okay.
and they had like a program that was releve, and it was all these Black girls releveing, and I was like, that's me. I see me. That's my word. So yeah, shout out to them and the ballerinas that watch the dancers. Go ladies and
Hey,
gentlemen if you ballet too.
shout out, Misty Copeland.
That's
Well, all right, Shekinah. So we are at the time of recording this. We're a couple days in now to February, and a lot of us, of course, when we think about February, we think of Black History Month. So I just gotta ask, do you have a word or anything that you'd like to say about Black History Month this year, lady?
I am all about Black History Month. I went to what I would call a pro-Black grammar school in Chicago.
Okay, hold on.
Every day.
Time out. So if you're listening to this podcast, and if you are from Iowa, see, in larger cities, they call elementary school, they call it grammar school.
Grammar school. Yeah, that's true.
Learning their grammar. They learn their grammar, their arithmetic. Okay. So elementary school means grammar school. All right.
Grammar school. Okay. Yes.
All right.
It was called West Inglewood Christian Academy, and every day was Black History Day. Every day.
Okay.
Every day. So I learned a lot while I was there, and I think it's very important. I will always celebrate and appreciate Black History Month. There's a quote about we can do more and see more and look further because we stand on the shoulders of giants. We appreciate that. Carter G. Woodson paved the way. Some students after him paved the way for it to be a month instead of the week. And so I will always appreciate Black History Month and stand on the shoulders of that. I know there's sometimes a little pushback because people feel like it's only a month, it's the shortest month, all those things. But I think that it's like we were talking earlier. It's kind of like if you bike or if you run, you're exhausting all your energy, you're working the entire time. But when you get to a downward hill or when you get a gust of wind behind you, you don't stop and say, oh, I'm not going to, because everybody else is doing it, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to celebrate because I get this gust of wind. If you have corporations standing behind you, folks from the S&P, top Fortune 250, Fortune 500 companies that want to say something about Black History Month or acknowledge it for 28 days, you take them 28 days and run with it, okay? So yes, I am taking it and running with it and enjoying it to the fullest. I am not going to take on the role of educator of everybody around me about things of Black history because it is 2021. We all have access to lots of different things. And so, I am going to revel in that. My history is a part of American history, and I'm here for it. Black History 2021.
Absolutely. Woo, woo, woo. And kind of, I couldn't have said that better myself. I agree with you. It is important to acknowledge Black History Month, as it is equally as important to acknowledge the contributions of Black folk every single day, every single week, as often as possible. It's funny just how much of our daily lives are impacted by some awesome breakthrough that a Black person created.
Absolutely.
From our stoplights to our light bulbs to our, washer and dryer, all that stuff. Well, I just
ice cream.
I just made up washer and dryer. I'm not gonna lie, I just made up washer and dryer. But it was probably.
I believe the iron is. I don't know. One of them
Hey,
Lots of things.
whatever makes your life easier, a Black person probably made it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No
Yeah,
doubt. You like lights, you like Black
exactly.
people.
But okay, but I will say this though. I will say this. So, to our friends in corporate America that are listening to
Yes.
this podcast and that look to get some insight and perhaps some education from us. I got to say this. And this is I'm going to talk about a previous experience. This is a past experience, okay? But if your company has any interest in planning for Black History Month, couple things, two things. One, these are two things not to do. One, don't just rely on your Black employees, right? That's number one. It's okay. I think some folks are more willing than others to kind of volunteer and talk about those kinds of things, right? So,
Yeah.
So don't.
And I've even bumped into Larry where there's like some planning going on, and sometimes there's apprehension, like, oh, I don't want to get this wrong. I'm not necessarily a member of this community. I'm an ally. So I want to like check this with somebody. And I respect that,
Yeah.
I'd rather like, let's work through this rather than a blank piece of paper that's like.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then number two, I just want to say, we know every year that Black History Month begins on February 1st. Okay. So that means your corporate planning for Black History Month, it cannot take place in January. It can't even take place in December. It can't take place in December because you're going to have at least, 5 days in corporate America where no one's doing anything because of the holidays. Right? So if you're going to, for real, plan activities and events, or just plan any kind of acknowledgement for Black History Month, you need to plan that in early Q4. I would say, mid-October at best. Okay. So that's a free gem. That's a free cookie crumb for those of you guys listening out there. All right. Don't just rely on the Black folks to celebrate Black History Month, and plan in advance, please. All right. So Shekinah, obviously, 2020 was like a crazy, most unique, challenging year that any of us have ever had in our lives. All right. There's so many things that happened, but of course that one lingering bully that wouldn't quite leave is that dang COVID-19. All right.
Yeah.
So, COVID-19, he's come around. He's like, yo, I ain't no punk. Right. And now we have some advances made with vaccines and things like that. There's, within our community, there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of mistrust, and a lot of question on, if they're going to take part in getting those two shots or not. So, I just got to ask, not trying to put you on the spot or anything like that, but how does a young, talented person such as yourself interpret all this vaccine talk? Are you going to get one?
I have, if you would have asked me this question 2 months ago, I would be like, I'm going to sit in the back and wait on all of y'all to go handle that. And then once I see you come back and you are okay and they've tested it and somebody else got a better one, then I'd be down. But now I'm leaning more towards yes. I don't feel like, I'm not in the group that's like, yeah, sign me up ASAP right now. No, I don't completely feel that way. I do recognize the importance of doing this. I do think I feel like it's kind of like my civil duty as trying to get to this herd immunity, as a certain number of people that do become immune due to the vaccine. Like, I understand that lots of folks participating, that needs to happen. But I think just like the other things that happened in 2020, we can't just brush this under the rug as some phenomenon that's just happening. I was listening to the MLK prayer breakfast last month, and I think Courageous Fire talked about you have to address, in order to address a wound, you have to acknowledge its existence. And so like the history of the United States of America, and when it comes to Black people and healthcare, and the present, like still challenges today, birth rates of Black women, when you have a staff that's helping you deliver this baby that don't look like you, are not good, and so I think we have to address that. It's not just that Black people are distrusting. Flint, Michigan happened. It's still happening, like Tuskegee, clearly everybody's been talking about that, happened, like documented proof. So I think Dr. Fauci gave a little shout out, like, look, I understand why Black Americans would have some hesitancy based on historical reasons, but I urge you to get this vaccine. So
Yeah.
I am more in favor than I am against the vaccine, just because I'd rather suffer from any kind of symptom of the vaccine than to have the virus and spread that to other people. These symptoms aren't known now to be contagious and spreading around, whatever they may be, but I would hate to pass that along to somebody else that I care about, or even that I don't necessarily know, and they have more harmful effects.
Yeah. No, I hear you loud and clear. Look, I'll tell you too. Me personally, I've always been uh, very skeptical about just stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those folks that I've only gotten a flu shot once in my life, and
I've never got a flu shot,
I got a
Larry.
flu shot once.
Never.
And I got pretty sick from the flu shot, and I haven't had one since. Okay, I'm sorry, guys, don't kill me here. But when it comes to this vaccine, I'm gonna tell you what. There came a moment in time. What was it? Probably just a few months back, and I was at home. This is had gone on for several weeks, but I was at home with all 5 of my children. Who were either
Dad of the year,
school or daycare. I was at home with all 5 kids, trying to work and trying to teach them on Zoom and all that other stuff at the same time. And I was like, you know what? Sign me up for that damn shot. Whatever I can do to get me out of this situation, Lord help me. I ain't no teacher, So yeah, I haven't changed stances since. So.
Oh, I'm not mad. Do what you gotta
Man.
do, right?
Cool. Well, Shekinah, look, this is going to be the start of something big here, something beautiful.
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to collaborating with you and partnering with you, and looking forward to us both, connecting with the listeners and connecting with our audience and continuing to share our story. I'm so honored that now we have the perspective of a Black female out in this game, and I can only talk so much, but I know if I've been through stuff, I know you've been through double, and you have an experience that people that can motivate people. You have an experience that people can learn from, and it's just going to be really exciting to partner with you to help share some of those stories as well. So thank you so much.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the podcast. This is it. This is
pretty fancy digs you have here. Pretty fancy.
Right. Cool. Well, we appreciate you, Shekinah, and look for we'll check back in on the next episode.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. We'll be back real soon with another episode, so stay tuned.